In this video, we will show you how to replace your rear brake flex hose on this Honda Civic. This will be located behind your rear wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground, and I like to have the suspension hanging. Continuing on, we're going to remove the wheel by removing all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts, and we can get the wheel off of here. A quick inspection of all hardware as we continue, replace as necessary. Now that we have the wheel off, we have a clear view of our brake flex hose. We're going to follow that flex hose all the way to our rear brake caliper. Now right along the back side of the caliper here is where we can see where the brake flex hose connects into here. We want to aim for our bleeder screw right in this area. We'll be using a 10mm to break this free. Make sure you have a collection receptacle under this area to collect and recycle any fluid as necessary. Now at this point, I can see a light trickle of fluid coming out of this area. We're going to make our way into the passenger compartment. We have to press the brake pedal all the way down to the floor and hold it there with something such as a pry bar or a rod of some sort. Now I'm going to press this all the way in. Let's make our way back to that caliper. Now we're back inside the wheel well. We're going to make our way back to the bleeder screw. Let's just bottom this out. Let's start removing the rear brake flex hose from the caliper. In this area, we can see our banjo bolt. I'm using an 11mm to start removing this. Keep in mind there could still be fluid in this area. We have our collection receptacle under here. Just go ahead and remove that banjo bolt. Typically on the banjo bolt, you're going to find that it has a pre-existing gasket attached to one side of it. It's generally going to be along this base area. You want to go ahead and remove that and dispose of it properly. To get this off of here, I'm just going to go ahead and use a small pocket screwdriver. You can use a pick or pretty much anything that you need to pull it out of place. We'll dispose of that properly. You never reuse gaskets like this. You're going to have a brake fluid leak. A quick inspection of that banjo bolt. It's not rotted or damaged in any way. This looks fine. We'll set it aside. Separate the brake flex hose from the caliper next. For this, you just want to carefully lift it up and away. The caliper has 2 small ears that the brake hose fits in between. Typically, I just go ahead and take hold of the rubber portion of the hose. You can give it a wiggle and slide it up and away. Go ahead and inspect that brake hose along both sides. We're looking to see if we can see any gasket. If you find that you still have the gasket attached to the caliper like I do here, we are going to remove it. Once again, you never reuse any of these gaskets. Let's follow the flex hose to its next mounting point on the other side of the upper control arm. Now right over here, we can see our next mounting bolt here. This is a 12mm. We'll go ahead and remove that so we can separate the flex hose bracket from its mounting point. That bolt looks good. Let's continue following the flex hose up to its final mounting point up at the brake line. Now all the way up in this area, we can see where the brake line is connected to the brake flex hose. I've already sprayed this with some penetrant, which is extremely important. It's common for that brake line fitting to either be stuck in the brake flex hose, or you might find that the brake line itself is stuck inside of the brake line fitting. Now when we start loosening this with our 10mm, the one thing that we really need to pay attention to is the fact that the brake line itself is not spinning at the same time as the fitting is. If the brake line is spinning, it may twist, potentially get damaged, or even restrict brake fluid in some way. Now I'm going to use a 10mm flare wrench here. We can continue on turning this counterclockwise. We're attempting to break it free. I can see that the line is pivoting a little bit, but it does look like that fitting has broken free from the line. So I'm just going to continue working this back and forth to free it up completely. After that, I'll just completely unscrew it from the brake hose. We can switch to an open-end wrench once it's broken free. Once you have that separated, the next thing we'll do is pay attention to where the brake hose goes through its mounting bracket, right up along this area. Right up on the top of the bracket, there's actually a metal clip. You can sort of see it here. There is a little bit of rust. We're just going to go ahead and pull that out of place. After that, we can remove our brake flex hose from the vehicle. To remove this, I'm going to use some pliers. You may have to try to pry it out of place with a small prying device as well. Whatever works best for you. We'll just grab onto this, work it out of position. Once you've removed the clip, you need to give it a thorough inspection. Make sure it's not rotted and weak or otherwise unusable. This one looks fine, so I'm going to set it aside. Go ahead and remove that flex hose from the bracket. If it's stuck in place, I'm going to lightly tap on this, breaking it free from its mounting bracket. There it is, friend. Prior to installation of the brand new flex hose, the next thing you have to do is clean and inspect several areas. We're going to start with our brake line and brake line fitting. Confirm that it's not rotted or damaged in any way. I'm going to use a wire brush here. We'll just try to clean up the threads. The line looks like it's still in good usable order. Let's continue on to cleaning the mounting bracket. And lastly, all the way down at the caliper, we're just going to give this a quick wipe, a close inspection to confirm there's no pre-existing gasket here. We do not want to double gasket anything. Okay, it's time for installation of our brand new rear brake flex hose. We'll start with the side that's going to go up near the brake line here. The one thing that we really want to pay attention to as far as installing this is if you were to go ahead and spin on this, you're going to find that the brake flex hose has this circular base, but in one area it's actually flattened out. That's an alignment point. Go ahead and pay attention to that mounting bracket. Looking at this area, you can tell that it is circular, but we also have the flat area as that alignment point. Let's start bringing the flex hose into position. Once again, we're making sure that we have it properly aligned. We're also aligning it with our brake line. Just go ahead and continue twisting and pressing as necessary. Now, typically, I like to leave the brake hose loose while I continue on starting my fitting. If your fitting seems like it's binding on this area or stuck in some way, we want to be extremely careful that we don't damage it. So what I'm going to do is carefully start pressing the two areas together, and I'm going to use my wrench to start turning this clockwise. Once it is started in, we can continue on. I have to apply some pressure here. Be extremely careful not to cross thread this into the wrong positioning. This can be dangerous. Okay, that's started in. Now I'm just going to make sure that I'm completely bottomed out against the base of this bracket here. We'll install our mounting clip and then continue tightening this until it's completely bottomed out. Now it's time for our metal locking clip. We want to make sure we have it in the proper orientation. Looking in the center area here, we can see that we have this bump facing upward, and all the way down next to where my fingers are, we have this lip also facing up. Let's start sliding this into the groove of the flex hose here, right along the top of that bracket. You may find you have a hard time pressing it in by hand. You can lightly tap on this with a hammer. Double check, make sure the flex hose is completely secured in place. We do not want this coming loose and potentially vibrating around and getting damaged. Finish tightening your brake line fitting. After I have it tight with a box end wrench, I typically like to use my flare wrench just to confirm everything's tightened and I do not want to strip this out. We'll just take this a tiny bit further. We don't want to cause any damage to our brake line. Now let's run that brake flex hose all the way down to the center mounting bracket. Let's get that in position. We have our 12mm headed mounting bolt. Start it in, snug it up. Okay, right there is bottomed out. Double check, confirm that the brake hose is properly secured to the bracket, and now we can follow it all the way over to the caliper. Now in this area, what we need to do is take our original banjo bolt, double check to make sure you've removed both of the original gaskets, and install one of your brand new gaskets. We'll slide that all the way up against the base of that banjo bolt. At this point, take your banjo bolt and slide it down through your brake flex hose. We'll take our second brand new gasket, slide it on the opposite side of the flex hose. So now you have a brand new gasket on each side of the flex hose. At this point, we'll take our flex hose, slide it through the two ears on the caliper, and align it. Start that banjo bolt in by hand. Once you have it started in, go ahead and bottom it out. The torque for this is 26 foot-pounds. Double check to make sure your flex hose is completely secured and it cannot move around in any way. Let's release pressure from that brake pedal. Now that we have everything together, let's complete a gravity bleed. To do that, I'm going to be using a 10mm right on the bleeder screw here. We have our collection receptacle under this area so we can collect and recycle our fluid properly. Let's turn this counterclockwise. We're paying attention to the fluid making its way out of here. We want to see a steady trickle of fluid making its way out with no air bubbles. Even one air bubble can lead to a braking problem. When doing this, you want to make sure you check your brake fluid master periodically to confirm it does not run dry. All right, so we've had this gravity bleeding for a short while here. I'm going to go ahead and close this off. I do not see any air bubbles making its way out of the braking system. Clean up your mess, reinstall your bleeder screw cover. Now we're back up under the hood. It's time to top off that master cylinder one last time. Double check, make sure your cap is properly secured. You don't want any dirt or moisture making its way into the braking system. Now at this point, the next thing that we need to do is go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, confirming that it's nice and firm. If it feels like it's soft and squishy in any way, you may need to continue on with a manual brake bleed. Otherwise, let's continue on to reinstalling our wheel. With the wheel in place, let's start on all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts. Once they're bottomed out, get the wheel back on the ground. With the wheel safely back down on the ground, we can torque each one of our lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Okay friend, at this point, hop in the passenger compartment, take your vehicle for a road test, and test the functionality. Thanks for watching. In this video, we are going to show you how to bleed the brakes on this Honda Civic. Make sure you have some brake fluid and some parts cleaner. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we want to mention is you will have to safely raise and support and remove all wheels, so make sure you're in a safe area to do so. Aside from that, we have some clean .3 or 4 brake fluid and some parts cleaner. Let's start up with the master cylinder upper reservoir. Go ahead and remove the cap, give it a quick inspection and set it aside. Inside of the master cylinder, you're going to find that there's a small screen. We can remove that. Let's be careful not to get any brake fluid on any of our paint of our vehicle. For this, I'm just using a small angled pick. It's easier than reaching in by hand. Quick inspection of that screen, we'll set it aside. Now we're going to remove as much fluid from inside of the reservoir as possible. Keep in mind, this is only the upper reservoir. It still has a second reservoir all the way down at the master cylinder, but that one's pretty much impossible to drain from this area. To remove the fluid, you can use a fluid extractor. You can use one that's portable like this, or even one that uses air as a vacuum. After removing as much fluid as possible, before adding anything, let's continue on reinstalling our protective screen. We want to confirm nothing falls inside of the braking system. Top off your master cylinder with your brand new brake fluid. We're going to bring it all the way up to this line and reinstall our master cylinder cap. Now the next thing we have to do is safely raise and support the vehicle so we can remove all wheels. Once you have the wheels off, inspect the calipers and the bleeder screws. The bleeder screws need to open so we can complete this bleeding process. Now it's time to bleed the brakes. We've already removed all wheels and loosened each one of our bleeder screws, confirming that they do open properly. And the process will be the same for each wheel, but there is a specific sequence. As far as the sequence is concerned, we want to start at the driver's side front. We'll go over to the passenger side front once that's completed, make our way up to the master cylinder, and check that fluid. Top it off as necessary. After you've completed that, you're going to the passenger side rear, and then ending at the driver's side rear. To bleed the brakes, of course, we're going to have a collection receptacle because we will collect and recycle all fluid properly. This is easiest if we have a second person inside of the vehicle preparing to pump the brakes for us. Now on this caliper, I'm using a 10mm for my bleeder screw. We'll get our collection receptacle in place. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Now while they're holding, I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and we're watching to see fluid making its way out of here. Commonly, you're going to see some dirty fluid or even air. We need to repeat this process until you see only clean brake fluid making its way out. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. Okay, so we're just getting some small air bubbles there. Obviously, if you have to repeat this process several times to remove air or even dirty fluid, you want to go ahead and check that master cylinder just in case. You never want it to run dry on fluid. After that, just go ahead and lightly close it off. We can remove our apparatus from this area. Let's make sure we clean up any mess and reinstall our bleeder screw cover. Okay, we finished bleeding this brake. Let's go over to the passenger side front brake. Repeat this bleeding process. After that, stop at the master cylinder so you can top it off before proceeding to your next brake. Let's get that cap off of there. Top off our brake fluid. Now after topping off the master cylinder, we're at our passenger side rear. 10mm for that bleeder screw, and we have our collection receptacle. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Go ahead and pump. Perfect. You can release, thank you. Let's remove our wrench. We'll clean up our mess, reinstall our bleeder screw cover. Now at this point, you want to repeat this exact same process on the driver's side rear. After that, make your way back up to the master cylinder once again. Now we're back up under the hood. It's time to top off that master cylinder one last time. Double check, make sure your cap is properly secured. You don't want any dirt or moisture making its way into the braking system. Okay friend, we finished our job. The next thing you need to do is go ahead and pump up that brake pedal till it's nice and firm. Triple check for leaks. It's super important to make sure you have no brake fluid leaks. After that, reinstall every one of your wheels and torque those lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. Take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.